welcome back to the channel and more Blood and Plunder for you today as we wind down the last few characters in the unaligned and peripheral powers list. So today we're taking a look at another major character as far as points go. It seems like that's going to be the theme here with most of these characters in the sub-faction here. They're just all, like, because there's so many smaller lists or smaller sub-factions, so usually each one is going to get like its one character to go with it. So they're all pretty hefty characters as far as points go, and for the most part, pretty damn good characters. So anyway, today, Francisco Barreto De Meneses. Let's jump in. So he has two factions, or I think one. The Tercios and the Brazilian Tercios and Militia faction. Yeah. So one faction there. Weapons-wise, brace of pistols and standard melee weapon. Always great to have that. No other options, though, as far as like switching out for like a rifle and then a melee weapon and then like a sidearm as a pistol. So, but brace pistols is perfectly fine. Always. Command range of 16, so fantastic command range, right? So that's top tier there. Fantastic there. 32-inch bubble command range, so we're going to take care of all kinds of good territory with that as far as spreading out those command points and affecting our force. We don't have to bunch up. That's plenty of real estate. And then also for 30 points, that all-important third command point. So super happy with that. Now we get 3 abilities here, technically 3.5, because Expertly Drilled is going to also give us the basic drilled ability. And we don't see that too often, or haven't seen that in a long time. And you wouldn't necessarily expect like drilled in a pirate type list. But anyway, we'll get there. Cunning, first of all, though. I've seen a few of those, especially under the natives sort of mini-series of characters. A lot of them had that. So Cunning is a neat one. When the unit falls back as a result of being shaken, it moves 5 instead of 4. So it's pretty good there because that helps keep us separated from the enemy should they want to follow up with us, right? We're going to have that 1 extra inch of falling back, which hopefully will let us regroup properly and deal with whatever's in front of us. But also just from shooting, maybe we're getting shaken because somebody shot us and we piled on enough fatigue onto our unit, and then we're gonna have to fall back. Just gets us further out of harm's way and hopefully into maybe like line of sight blocking and stuff like that too. We'll come back to Expertly Drilled in a second just to cover Inspiring, because we've seen that one so often, and just kind of a good standard ability for characters to have. So all friendly units within the command range of the commander may re-roll any failed rally tests when the commander's unit is active. So, and again with that 16-inch command range and then the 3 command points, that's going to let us keep the force in the fight as long as possible. Hopefully shaking off all kinds of fatigue and really just keeping the force running at optimum efficiency. So always welcome to have that. Now let's jump into Expertly Drilled, because we really don't see that one too often. And again, it's been a while since we've seen Drilled even. So this unit will basically get the Drilled special rule. We'll cover that in a second. However, where Expertly Drilled is really just like the icing on the cake for us is that if we activate with a spade or heart, so it's nice because some abilities out there, it's I think like just activate with a spade, so it's obviously going to be a little rarer. But here we get 2 of the suits of cards. So again, spades or hearts. So we got to activate with that and score at least 1 hit with a dedicated shoot action when using muskets while in formation. Again, we'll get there in a second when we cover the regularly drilled rule. But so when we have all that stuff happening, the defender has to roll an additional d10 when taking fatigue tests from the attack. So it's fantastic, right? Yet another die to roll, which forces hopefully a fail on their part, and hopefully that will lead to the enemy becoming shaken more often, or maybe even routed. Who knows what, right? We want to pile fatigue on the enemy and influence whatever our target unit was. We want to influence their subsequent activation, or maybe even lack of activations, depending on what we do. So then let's not forget then what just regularly drilled does for us, because there's several requirements for that. But it's not all that complicated. We just got to follow the rules on it, and then we execute what we're trying to do. So the unit basically becomes more effective when they're fighting in quote-unquote formation. So a drilled unit in formation makes a shooting or may make a shoot action as a dedicated action, which receives all the standard Penalties and bonuses for a dedicated action as explained in that action section. Again, if you're playing the game, just you'll know what to look for. But basically, to be in formation, you have to have at least 4 models. So, and again, with our commander's unit, we want to ideally stick them in a big unit, and not be shaken. So 2 core tenets there, also with inspiring, right? Hopefully we can keep ourselves out of that. Can't be in a structure unless that structure is open top, so maybe like a palisade, right? Or something like that, or a dugout. And then all the models have to be in base-to-base contact. It doesn't specify that they have to be in a line or anything, but it looks cool visually. All the units, units in formation still have a 360 arc of fire, just as an individual would. And you don't need to move in formation, but you have to end in formation to benefit from drilled. So basically, we just have to have a couple of requirements there. And then with expertly drilled, on top of that, we're going to cause that extra die to be rolled and pile on the fatigue. So all in all, pretty efficient little operation there for his unit. So when we are fielding this Portuguese Brazilian list, we want to ideally stick him in a unit that will have muskets, right? So sticking him in a unit that is just like hand-to-hand fighting, obviously you're gonna kind of ruin what drilled will do for you, but you have access to that kind of unit. And then from there, we want to just put that unit in a prime position as much as possible, make sure we can keep them at as many bodies also as possible to execute this, and then just be in a position where turn after turn we can pile on the damage onto enemy units and make them roll that extra die with expertly drilled, and really hopefully just kind of plow through their force. So all in all, pretty fun. Let us know, guys, if you think, and if you've run this list with Francisco Barreto, for this Portuguese Brazilian list, is he worth the points for that? Do you more often just opt for a generic type of character? And how well has this combination of abilities worked for you? Let us know in the comments. Again, let us know if you've come up against a list with him, and did that list beat you, or were you able to beat it? So hit us up in the comments. Be sure to like and subscribe, and we will see you in the next one as we wrap up the characters here for Blood and Plunder.